진짜 어렵네.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Diaries channel. In Are You Sure Too? Jungkook suddenly confessed that he once liked a girl, and it wasn't Jimin. There were no jokes, no shy smiles, just an honesty that sounds too heavy to ignore. But what made this moment truly heartbreaking wasn't the confession itself, but Jimin's reaction afterward. Their silence speaks far more than words. So what exactly happened between them at that moment? Jungkook admitted he once liked a girl, and it wasn't Jimin? Are You Sure Too isn't just clickbait. That sentence opened the door to a confession that had been hiding between Jungkook's fragments of sentences, gazes, and his always unpredictable silences. In Are You Sure Too? Jungkook seems more relaxed, more open, but that's precisely where his emotions feel most raw. There was no overly joking tone. There was none of the shy smile he usually wore to mask his feelings. When the topic of past feelings came up, Jungkook paused for a moment. His eyes stared ahead, as if he were pulling up an old memory from the quietest corner of his heart. Then he said, in a calm but heavy voice, that there had once been someone he liked, a woman. And in that moment, the fandom fell silent. Not out of jealousy per se, but because the way Jungkook said it didn't sound like sweet nostalgia. There was no chuckle. There was no hint of pride. Instead, there was a vulnerable honesty, as if he were confessing something he'd long ago let go of, but which still left a mark. Jungkook didn't elaborate. He didn't mention names, times, or beautiful romantic stories. He simply admitted that the feelings had existed. Short, honest, and done. But that's precisely where the biggest question arises. If it was just a simple past, why did the atmosphere feel so heavy? Why does Jungkook seem quieter after those words? And why, at the same time, did Jimin's expression change in such a subtle yet touching way? Jimin didn't interrupt. He didn't joke. He didn't tease as usual. He only looked up briefly, staring at Jungkook with an expression that was hard to describe. Not angry, not loud jealousy, more like someone who already knew the story and chose to respect it. The small silence between them felt far louder than any dialogue. This is what made this moment feel different from Jungkook's previous confessions. Jungkook had always been honest, but this time his honesty felt like the closing of an old chapter. It was as if he were saying, yes, I used to like someone else, but that was in the past. There was no follow-up, but the absence spoke volumes. Interestingly, after that moment, Jungkook and Jimin's dynamic didn't turn awkward. Quite the opposite. They seemed even more at ease with each other. Small, unintentional touches, brief, knowing glances, quiet, unexplained laughs. All of this left many wondering. If Jungkook once liked a girl, then what does everything he's showing with Jimin now mean? Are You Sure Too never gives a direct answer. This show isn't meant to confirm any relationship. But emotions don't lie. Jungkook can confess his past without fear, because he's standing in a safe space. And Jimin, in his own way, shows that it doesn't threaten anything between them now. There's a big difference between having liked and being in love. Jungkook states the former in a matter-of-fact tone, almost as a matter of fact. But when he's with Jimin, his feelings emerge without words. In the way he listens, in the way he waits, in the way he smiles a little whenever Jimin speaks too honestly. Many fans were initially heartbroken by the title, but after watching the entire episode, their feelings morphed into something calmer. Realistic. Jungkook is human. He has a past. He's experienced attraction like everyone else. And precisely because of that, what he has now feels more real, not a fantasy constructed without lived experience. This moment doesn't shatter Jimin's narrative. It deepens it, because mature love isn't about not having a past, but about choosing to be fully present in the present. And Jungkook, through that simple confession, seems to show that he's made peace with himself. Are You Sure Too teaches us an important lesson. Not every confession has to end in drama. Sometimes the truth just needs to be heard and put back where it belongs. Jungkook isn't asking for sympathy. He's not seeking validation. He's just being honest. And Jimin, with his silence, allows space for that honesty to exist without judgment. What makes this confession linger in people's hearts is not the gender of the person Jungkook once liked, but the timing and the emotional weight behind his words. Are You Sure Too places this moment in a setting that feels quiet, intimate, and unguarded. It's not a stage. It's not a performance. It feels like a space where Jungkook finally allows himsering how the world will twist his honesty. And that's why Jimin's reaction matters so much. Because he doesn't react like someone who feels threatened. He reacts like someone who understands growth. Jimin's silence isn't emptiness. It's restraint. It's maturity. It's the kind of response that says, I hear you, without demanding explanations or reassurance. Sometimes the deepest understanding happens without words, and this moment captures that perfectly. For longtime viewers, this scene hits even harder because of how far Jungkook and Jimin have come together. They've shared years of laughter, misunderstandings, comfort, and quiet loyalty. So when Jungkook speaks about the past, it doesn't feel like a wedge between them. It feels like a bridge connecting who he was to who he is now. And Jimin, instead of stepping away, stays right there. There's also something deeply human about admitting past feelings without romanticizing them. Jungkook doesn't try to make the story prettier than it is. He doesn't soften it. He doesn't dramatize it. That simplicity makes it real. It reminds us that attraction doesn't always turn into love, and not every chapter needs to be reopened to be understood. After that confession, the energy between them subtly shifts, not colder, but warmer, safer, as if something unspoken has been acknowledged and gently put to rest. Jungkook laughs more freely again. Jimin relaxes. Their closeness feels earned, not forced. And that's what makes viewers emotional, even if they can't explain why. This is why so many fans walked away from the episode not feeling betrayed, but comforted. Because Are You Sure Too doesn't sell illusions. It shows two people choosing honesty over fear, understanding over reaction, presence over insecurity. Jungkook's past doesn't erase what he shares with Jimin, it gives it depth. In the end, this moment isn't about confirming labels or drawing conclusions. It's about witnessing emotional honesty in its quietest form. It's about realizing that love, whatever shape it takes, grows stronger when truth is allowed to exist without punishment. And maybe that's the real reason this scene stays with us. Because it reminds us that the most meaningful connections aren't built on perfect stories, but on real ones. Stories with pauses, with silence, with acceptance. Are You Sure Too doesn't ask us to choose sides or believe theories. It simply invites us to feel. And sometimes that's more than enough. If you've made it this far, it means you've felt the weight and honesty of this moment. Are You Sure Too doesn't give us a definitive answer, but instead leaves us with an inexplicable feeling about the past, about honesty, and about two people who choose to remain side by side without needing to explain everything. What do you think Jungkook's confession really means? And how did you see Jimin's reaction in that moment? Share your thoughts in the comments because every perspective has its own story. Don't forget to like this video if you feel the emotion. Subscribe to this channel for more in-depth and emotional Jikook discussions, and share it with your fellow armies so we can all come together. Thank you for watching, take care of your hearts, and see you in the next Jikook Diaries video. LF to speak without war.